Hi there. Thanks for attending this webinar. My name is Randy McDonald. I'm the president of Heresy Email Services. Today's topic is understanding email campaign bounce reports. And today's topics, what we're going to look at is defining what is a bounce, a difference between hard and soft bounces with email, why you must purge hard bounces from your email databases, and understanding hard and soft bounce reports, where we'll show a live example of a campaign that we've recently done to demonstrate how to understand these reports. So first of all, what is a bounce? An email bounce is a report regarding an email that cannot be delivered to the intended recipient. So there's actually two types of bounces. There's what are known as hard and also soft bounces. What hard bounces are email addresses that permanently cannot be delivered to for one of two reasons. One, the email address has been deactivated and no longer exists. Or two, an anti-spam program has either put the email into the spam folder or has blocked and prevented the email from being delivered. Both of these will come up in the bounce reports in various ways, as we'll take a look at towards the end of the webinar. And we'll see how these reports are made. Soft bounces are different. Soft bounce is where an email addresses that temporarily cannot be delivered to for any of several reasons. So, in other words, when you try and email an account and for some reason the account, though it exists and is still active, can not for some reason temporarily receive the email, then that is what's known as a soft bounce, and it's a temporary condition that usually can be overcome in various ways. So, to recap, hard bounces are permanently email addresses that permanently cannot be delivered to for one of two reasons, which is this, as you see below. Soft bounces are email addresses that temporarily cannot be delivered to. So, why you must purge hard bounces from your email database. The reason is that hard bounced email addresses are the number one cause of poor email campaign deliverability, and here's why. In the email world, with email service providers and email providers such as Hotmail, Yahoo, all the free account providers, and especially the large broadband providers in the United States that provide email addresses for their customers, such as Comcast and so forth, they see a big distinction, and there is, between people that have so-called legitimate opt-in lists, where people have given permission to email them, they've made a list of these people, and purchase lists, where someone has gone out and bought a list or had it created from scratch using data entry people. And typically what will happen is that if it's a purchased email list, the problem with these lists is that, number one, the source, unless you know for sure that it's the company that you're buying it from has made it, the list could have come from anywhere, and it could have been, you really don't know how old it is. So our experience is that when you buy a list, that anywhere from 50% or more of the emails in the list are dead, unless of course that you're buying it from the company who made the list, and if they actually maintain it. Even if they actually maintain it, normally what they do is they might add addresses to the list, like for instance if it's a business like real estate and real estate agents, there's people that are entering the business every day. The problem is that there are just as many, if not more, people leaving the business every day, and that's the part that's usually not accounted for. So, it doesn't matter how new your emails are in your list, and what counts is ones that are dead. And so, some of these lists out there seem like a great deal in a lot of cases, where, you can get, in some cases you can find people that will sell you the list of real estate agents for the entire U.S., and it's like, $300-400, or sometimes even less, sometimes if you find on eBay or that sort of thing. And what they're not telling you is that a high percentage of the list is dead. We've seen even upwards of 80% of these lists are dead. And so the problem with that is that it's an immediate red flag to either either an email service provider that you're working with, such as Constant Contact or any of the major ones that are out there, or the email providers that you're sending to that are in your list, that you have bought a purchase list and that therefore they consider you a spammer, even if you're not. There's a gray area between spammers and opt-in lists that very few people recognize, and that is just simply a business. Usually it's someone that's had built up a small database of their contacts from their business cards that they have, etc. Maybe a few hundred, if not maybe a couple thousand people. They've emailed those people for a while. They've had some results, and they want to simply build up that list and ramp it up and do more of the same. And so there's lots of businesses that are perfectly entitled to buy these lists and start emailing more people than they've already been doing. And but this is the problem: is that they immediately get lumped in with the spammers who don't maintain these lists, nor do the providers of these lists who make them. And that's the problem. The thing is that email providers, large ones especially, whenever a list has more than 10% of emails sent are dead, then they will suspect them and start blacklisting them whenever you send to these lists. If you start sending to lists that are very dead, in other words, that the email addresses have been dead for perhaps years, then you run into even more problems. There's what's known as a spam trap address or a honeypot that we've explained in our other webinar on beating spam blockers. But just to recap what that means, what happens with email accounts where they particularly are good at catching spammers is an email address. Let's just say it's an email address that goes non-functional today. Then what will happen is that in perhaps 2 years or so, the email provider will essentially reactivate that account, and then anyone that emails that list after that time will be almost certainly suspected as a spammer, especially if they're emailing lots of accounts that have been dead for more than a couple of years, because that just usually doesn't happen with opt-in lists. The other problem with having a high percentage of hard bounces in your list is that it slows down your campaign delivery a lot. Like, for instance, if you bought a list that say had 50,000 emails in it and 80% are dead, well, your servers are just slogging through 40,000 emails and sending to them, they're dead. So there's no point in mailing a dead address, especially if it's going to cause you other campaign problems, which it will. Now, looking at soft bounce email addresses, what they indicate, as we said, is that these inevitably will happen. These soft bounces. But what we see is that it doesn't really matter if an email is soft bounce or not. I mean, it happens. The problem is that we want to look at why an email has been soft bounced. Why is it temporarily being not able to be delivered? And the most common is blacklisting, and blacklisting often happens when you have a lot of dead addresses that will show up start showing up in the soft bounces, as well as the hard bounces. It depends on the provider. It'll also show where some email providers will say you're being blacklisted temporarily because we've had a lot of user complaints, that sort of thing. So you'll see that immediately when you look at these bounce reports. So another thing is that you'll see in the soft bounce reports, you'll see sometimes mailbox full reports. You can also see these in the hard bounce, and these often indicate ghost accounts, what do we call, that are no longer being used. So what happens is that someone might have been a member of some organization and still are, but are not using this account or abandon it, yet they're still signed up and receiving mails to it, or perhaps they're it's a mirror account where let's just say it's info@abc.com, and they're all the emails are getting bounced from the mirrored and bounced forwarded to another account, whereas that account just fills up. Well, most accounts do have limits, and if the account fills up, and and as reaches capacity, it will just stop accepting new emails and will send a report saying mailbox full. Um, Now, what we find is that, at least our experience, because we work in real estate, when we see real estate agents that have accounts like this, it usually means 9 times out of 10 that they're not using the account anymore. Because, for instance, with the Toronto Real Estate Board, all agents are given an email account that ends with Trebnet, or TREBNET.com, and but a lot of them don't use it. So we get these mailbox full reports, and a lot of agents not being all that tech savvy, they don't understand this. They just let the accounts be, and they wonder why they're not getting emails forwarded to them anymore. So our policy is to delete all emails reported as a mailbox full immediately, mainly because it's too difficult to keep track of accounts. To see, like, okay, if we were to say, okay, here's all the ones that are mailbox full right now, and say there's like 200 of them, and then the next time we mail this list 3 weeks from now, there's a different batch of mailbox full. It's too hard to track and see which ones were fixed and had the emails deleted in them so that they weren't at capacity and could start receiving emails again, and which ones weren't. And we just say, what, it's too much of a hassle. We just forget about that, and anytime we see anything mailbox full, we just delete it from our list immediately. Most email service providers will advocate that as good list hygiene practice anyway. So we're going to get into here some sample hard and soft bounce reports from a recent campaign that we've actually done for promoting ourselves. So I'm just going to exit out of my PowerPoint slideshow here, and I'm going to go to where I have this report. So we use a program for sending our campaigns. It's called Gamma 9 Mailer, which you see up at the top left here. And this is sort of the dashboard, you might say, for sending out the email blasts that we send. Now, what we've got is a little piece of code here. These are all here in this area here, are all different scripts that you can have that are operating while the campaigns are being sent to record these bounce reports. So what the basic idea here is that if the report or the error, it's called an error status, is essentially what the bounce report is. That's the variable that's used. So if the error status is greater than or equal to 500 and less than 600, so in other words, it's between 500 and 599, that's the error code, then it will be recorded as a hard bounce. And so that's what we've got here in the file name. So the way we do is we have an ongoing file that collects these as we're setting a campaign, and it will store them under this directory. And so here we've noted the company name, if it's us, or if it's a client, we'll put the client's name in there, who is being emailed. In this case, it's Canadian Real Estate Developers, and then we indicate hard bounces, which is what it is for this, and the date that we started sending the campaign, and it gets created in a text file, .txt. If the error report is anything other between 500 and 599, then it is a soft bounce, and so that's what we do, is we indicate the same thing here in the file name. So we always have this ticked off here, run for send operations, and that way these files are being created as we send our email campaigns. So this is a campaign that we just did. You see, this was about 2 weeks ago that we did it. So what we're going to do is first look at the hard bounces for this particular campaign and go through it. Now, this is a little. This particular one is these are all business email accounts, so it's slightly different for consumer email accounts, but not much different. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into Microsoft Excel. We're just going to go open a new of that, and then we're going to go open, and then we're going to go to our section where our folder where we're storing all of these. So we're going to go to email databases, bad emails, and then we're going to search for all files, and we're just going to look for that file name that was just there. So if we look down, it is heresy. A little bit further down here, you can see we have a lot of bounce reports. It's a real pain in the ass to deal with this, but because of the impact it has on deliverability, this has to be done. So we're going to find our list right here, which should be February, January, late. So there, where are we here? Service providers, soft bounces. Okay, here we go. Heresy Canadian developers hard bounces January 27th. Okay, so we're just going to double click that. Now, the reason that it's asking this for this is because if we, the file actually has, if you look at the code here, you can see that it's actually putting a little comma, which is right here, between the email address and the error report or error response. So we'll just go back there. So we're going to open it as if it's a comma delimited file. So we just choose delimited, we go next, and then not tab but comma, and then we go finish, and then it will open it. So it's basically what this is it's a sequential list of all of the hard bounce error reports that are put in here as the campaign went along. So you can see here, it starts with numbers. You can see it's all in alphabetical order. Okay, so what you basically get is that the email address that it's reporting and what the report is. Now, as we said, if it's anywhere between 500 and 599, it's a hard bounce, and we take it out. So to make this easier on ourselves, by going through this list rather than going through each one, we want to make it so that the emails are sorted by the report, because a lot of these reports will be the same, as we'll see. So what we do is we click up here, top left, we go data, go sort, and then we want to sort by column B in ascending order, and you'll see in a moment here about why this makes it easier. So what it's doing here is it's sorting everything by their error report code. So first of all, we ignore all the ones here. We're not sure what these ones with 550 mean, so we just delete them. So what we're trying to do here with this process is we're trying to separate, as we said earlier, there's two types of hard bounces. One where the email address just no longer exists, or the second type of hard bounce is where the email address was blocked. The email was blocked because of spam blocking. So what we want to do is we want to just keep all of the emails that are actually dead addresses that no longer exist, and we want to remove any of the ones that are blocked because of spam blockers. Why? It's because we know that is actually an indication that the email address still exists when we get that, and so we know in future that if we email this email address again, that we may be able to get through the spam blockers in there. So we want to just keep all the actual truly dead addresses in this list and remove all of the ones that are spam blocked, which do indicate addresses that are still existing. And then that way, what we have at the end of this pruning process is just strictly a list of all of the emails that no longer exist, and then that we use that to in future to remove dead emails from our master lists that we send to. So we'll just go in here and we'll understand. We'll just go through this and show you how we differentiate between dead emails that no longer exist and spam block ones. Now, in some cases here, because we've had issues with our configuration, we get a message here that means relay, which means that the email just wasn't being able to be delivered because the relay was the relaying system that they thought we were trying to do would not do it. So as you can see, basically the idea is that what should be in hard bounces is often showing, or what should be in soft bounces such as this is showing up in hard bounces, and vice versa. What stuff it should be in hard bounces is showing up in soft bounces. So that's why we have to go through these lists, especially the list of hard bounces, and prune through them so that we're only keeping a list of the truly dead, non-active addresses. So we're going to delete all these relay ones here, and Now this next error report here, what this means is that we use a system that's called direct delivery with Gabardine Mailer, and where we've realized that direct delivery is not the best way of sending campaigns, because quite often what the receiving mail server looks for is some sort of authentication when you're sending, so that it knows that you're sending from who you are, who you say you are, and so if you're using, for instance, SMTP-based server when you're sending, it does do a login and password sort of authentication, so that so we're just transitioning to that. So for now, we want to delete these emails as well, because these are indicating that they are real addresses, but just not delivering because of a technical issue. So we'll delete all of these. Okay, so here, these are starting to get into ones where they're actually dead addresses that are simply not existing. So we can see here the first part of the report, server, which is this one here, is centex.ca for admin at riverfield.ca. Rejected address saying sorry. Now the reason that it's not all in this window, in this column B here, is because it used a comma in this report. So actually, if we go to column C here, we'll see the rest of it. No mailbox here by that name. So that is clearly one where, in instance, all of these ones here in this area right here, these are all instances of dead addresses that are just no longer existing. So we'll leave these one here. You can see here, bad destination mailbox address. All of these ones here are the same thing. No mailbox here by that name. We've actually created a list that we'll show you later that we can provide to you that has a comprehensive list of all these error codes and how to understand them. But for now, we'll just demonstrate how we do this. So we can see here, tons of these are no mailbox here by that name. Okay, so here, access denied to options for homes. That's what it does here. Some of these are a little bit hard to understand. The access denied can mean, it usually means spam blocked for whatever reason. So so we're just going to leave these ones in here because we're seeing that it's a common thing here. Usually if it's something to do with the email address being dead, it'll be very clear in it, such as like this one here, sorry, no mailbox here by that name. If it's got something to do with blocking because of that's interpreting your email as spam, it'll usually have something more ambiguous like this. So we'll take these one out here because I interpret this, and this is usually it's a little bit more clear cut, but I interpret that as a one where it's being blocked because of spam. That the receiving mail server is seeing our email spam and therefore blocking it. That's the response. So that's why it's saying access denied. It's just not giving us the reason why. Okay, relink not allowed. So again, that's a config issue. And then we'll take out all these ones here where it's the 550, because we don't know what that means. Oops. You know when that happens. Okay, sometimes the cursor goes wonky here. So we'll just scroll back down to where we were. Okay, so we'll delete all of these ones here. Relaying not allowed. Again, that's a config issue. We're not sure what this one is here, so we'll just leave them in. Sometimes these reports can be vague to the point where we have no idea what they mean. Okay, so we'll just hit delete. Unknown user, again, that's definitely a dead address. So we'll just go through, we'll just scroll down. We're going to keep all these in the list because they are dead addresses. Address rejected, again, that's another one that we commonly see where the email address is dead and no longer existing. So we're just going to scroll down here a little bit quicker because it looks like there's several hundred of them. Now this is actually a new list that we just emailed that we just basically built on our own, and we didn't know which emails would be good and which ones aren't. We were just sort of testing this, so that's why you're seeing a lot of dead addresses in the list. Essentially what we did is, what we wanted to do with this list is that we had a series of domains here of Canadian developers, but we didn't have any email addresses really. So what we did is we went through each one and we made an email address with each domain under certain common role-based emails. Obviously, that's a big no-no within the opt-in world, but we find that's a good way of getting your message across when you lack email addresses of companies, of particular people. So what we did is, these are all developers at Bin Homes, at Big Group, at Bucci, etc. And what we did is we created a bunch of email addresses of those. So we have a whole bunch here that were marketing. You can see marketing at all these companies. We had office at domain.com. We had PR. We had about 15 addresses that we made privacy. And for sure we had sales at and info at. So what we did is we took all these domains and we did this for about 15 different aliases, or the first part here, so we do marketing at, mail at, for each of these domains, and then we just mailed them all, and then now we're going through and seeing, okay, which emails were actually real and which ones aren't. There's not a problem in doing this with when you're sending to business email accounts, simply because these businesses are almost never reporting their hard bounces to, for instance, return path, and which would affect your sender score, which has a big impact on your deliverability. So you can do stuff like this. So if you have so the bigger picture is, if you have an email database that you've purchased and it's business email addresses mostly, if not exclusively, where it's not like AOL.com or Comcast or Hotmail, it's just strictly corporate email addresses, then there's much less impact emailing these databases in terms of your overall deliverability than if it's consumer emails. So we're just going to go through here. We can see these are all emails that are rejected. These are all emails that we could just take off as privacy at, reception at. What we did in this case was we looked at the typical emails that were being used by developers, and we just tried all of them. We had about 15 or 20 different ones, and we just thought, okay, well, we'll just email them all. Register is one that's typically used for the public, register at whatever.com. And so we just wanted to mail them all the different variations, and then just see what came up as good and which ones didn't. And then at least we'd have a start as far as our email database for these developers. And this can be done with any group of domains for corporate email addresses. So sales, these were all deleted here. So I just rejected. So we can go through this fairly quickly here. Invalid address, no such recipient here. All of these are reports that indicate the same thing, that it's a dead address. It's no longer existing. So we can just go through these pretty quickly. RSVP was one that we tried. Now, in some cases, we actually had emails of some of the people of these companies, or some of the ones we acquired, and so these are also ones that turned up dead as well. So we'll just go scroll through here. It doesn't look like that there was much spam blocking going on. Normally we see quite a bit more of that. Maybe we'll see it as we're going along. But these are all genuinely dead addresses. So we're just going to scroll, keep scrolling down. User unknown. So as we said, we're going to give you a list of all of the different reports that we've come across so that you can understand them. Each mail server can be configured to give different reports, and it can get a little confusing as to how to understand each one. So that's why we created a list, a very comprehensive list of these different reports and what each one means, so that you're correctly sifting through these lists and not getting rid of good addresses and not keeping in bad ones. So we're just going to keep going through here. This one's a fairly easy one to go through because it is, as I said, corporate email addresses. The consumer ones are more difficult, and that's why we created that list, that reference guide that will show you. Sorry, no mailbox. Illegal alias. The alias is the first part of the email. So, for instance, here you see brokers at grouphefe.com. The alias is the first part before the @ sign. So here, brokers is the alias, and this one, careers is the alias, and this one, it's contact. Okay, and if it's unknown or illegal, that means, again, it's a dead address. User unknown, all of these like that. So this is pretty smooth sailing. This is normally it's a much more cumbersome process, as I said, especially when it's consumer emails. So we'll just keep scrolling here. As you can see, we've almost reached 7,000 emails that we've had here. Now here's where we have to start sifting a bit. Now, when we start seeing stuff like this, like block, client host blocked using Zap, mail from IP banned. Okay, so we want to make a note of this one here because we see here that it's actually Microsoft, and obviously Microsoft is an important one. So we're just going to make a little note of that email address here. And now the reason is we have to sift through some of these here because they may be email. Whenever it says relay access denied, that's indicating that we have a real email address here. It's just not. There's something wrong with configuration, and that's not why it's not being forwarded. So we want to take all of these ones where it says relay access denied, and take them out because we only want to have our list at the end of the day here that is just dead addresses. So all these ones here we have to kind of prune them out. So we go edit, delete, relay access denied, and we just go through here. Anything to do with relaying or relaying denied, relay. We do not relay. We delete all these. So we just have to go through these kind of step by step. Now, one thing that can make it a little quicker is if we just sort of go through this and we just simply on the left here delete the emails that correspond to the ones that have relaying something about it. So we'll just go like this. So here we can see this one's relay access denied. So we'll just go delete. And we skip the ones where it says, like here, for instance, recipient address rejected, relay access relaying. Relay. Now you can see this can get tedious very fast, but it's a very necessary thing for reasons we've already explained. Has to be done each time, and it's worth it in the end. So recipient relaying denied. All good. Recipient relaying denied. So we've got a big list here of ones that are relaying denied here. So we're just going to have to go through them one by one. Denied. So it looks like there's several hundred of these. So what I'm going to do is just pause the webinar here, and what I'm going to do is just finish off the rest of these, and once I have, I'll come back and resume the webinar. Okay, so we've gone through this large list of people here, and so we're just going to resume where we left off. So invalid, mail protector recipient, anything about invalid, leave it in. It's a dead address. So we'll just scroll down here. This message does not comply with required standards. This means that it's being spam blocked. So we'll take these out. Recipient rejected, dead address. Mailbox not available. It's a dead address. Here, mailbox message refused. Whenever you see something that's referring to the message, it'd be meaning that it's a spam block. So we'll take these out. And then here, service unavailable, client host blocked using block list to remove this. So whenever you see a block list, it's an email address that exists, but it's just blocking. So we'll take all of these out. And delete. Unable to deliver to, and so this just means that it's this this is a little tough one to interpret, but I believe it means that the email address is dead, so we'll leave this in here. Unable to relay. Again, we take these all out. These are config issues. Address unknown. Dead address. Administrative prohibition. That's a spam block. Was that user unknown, user recipient unknown? All dead addresses. All these are dead addresses. User unknown. Account unknown. User no user account. Was that recipient? No mailbox here by that name. All dead addresses. All of these. So we're leaving them in. No such user. Dead addresses. Invalid mailbox. Inbox mailboxes. All dead addresses. So sometimes it's actually quite easy. You can just kind of skim right through these, and they're all nicely grouped together, and so it doesn't take. Now, mailbox quota exceeded. These are ones where, now in this case, we can probably guess that it's a company that may have gone out of business. Let's just double check, because we're seeing mailbox quota exceed for every single one of these emails, which is probably all of them, all 20 that we tried. So let's just look and see if canvar.ca is still around. Simply, they still are. Perhaps they're used, it looks like they're a French company, so perhaps they use French email addresses. So we'll just take a quick look here. Contact us. Info at group. Oh, see, the name is groupcanvar.com, so it's not canvar.ca. So that's why those are all not used. So we'll delete those. Actually, you know what? We'll leave them in because it seems that they are, in fact, dead addresses not being used. Mailbox unavailable. No such address. No such domain at this location. This means that not only is the address dead, but the domain is dead. So we'll just look up at that and verify that. And see if the company is actually still not around. Appears that it, oh, okay, so it is. Okay, so anyways. So we'll go back. So no domain at this, no such domain at this location. So we're not quite sure what that means. We could see that the company was real. So we'll just try and understand why these emails are not coming out properly. So we go to contact us. Sometimes it's just a form, they're not giving you their email address. We see it's METERRA info at. See, that's strange. Info at METERRA is listed on their site here, but it's not. So we're going to actually leave these emails in now because they may be spam blocked for some reason. That's very unusual to see that. So we'll just leave those in because those may be, actually no, we'll take them out. .9% of the time, the whatever is telling you is truthful about what it is. That one did not seem to be truthful. In other words, that what it's telling you is the reality. It's not trying to deceive you. But that one was a question mark. No such user. I'll keep scrolling. Again, all these are dead addresses, so they're all left in the list. Scroll even faster here. No such user. So it looks like we're coming near the end, I think. Okay, permanent failure. So again, that's indication of a dead address. Sometimes if you look further in it, it'll say user unknown. Now here it's saying actually that there's two reasons why the permanent failure, why it was blocked or user unknown. So actually what we'd want to do is we want to take out the one that said blocked and only leave in the ones here that for this particular company where it's saying user unknown. So what we'll do just for these quick ones here, since no, that won't help. So we're just going to have to go through this sequentially. So we're going to delete all the ones that say blocked. Oops. Blocked, 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 blocked. And delete all the ones that are saying blocked. Okay. Blocked, it looks like it's every other one. Blocked, blocked, blocked. Okay. So these are all here. Domain list hosted here. So again, we'll look in to see if these are actually still companies that are still in business. When a domain is gone, it usually means the company's out of business, obviously. Or in some cases, the company may have been acquired, but the email addresses are still there. So we're just going to leave. We're going to take these ones out actually, because we're not sure about these. Definitely dead addresses, these ones. Relaying blocked. Taking these out. Relaying denied. Mailbox unavailable means email address is dead or not local. All dead addresses. Doesn't handle mail for that user, means dead address. No such mailbox here. User invalid. All dead addresses. Unroutable address. That's a difficult one. I would say that is a dead address. But you know what? Because we had so many spam blocks in this, and because we had so many addresses in, we may be getting ones like this just once. So we'll leave these in for now, and then if they're in the next time around, then we'll take them out. But just because we had a lot of dead addresses, we may be getting some false flag messages here. Accounts not exist. Shipping cannot be verified. The dead address. Mailboxes exceed the limit. Again, we take these ones out. Unknown user here. No such user. All these are taken out. Service at mode normal. Recipient host. Message rejected. This is often spam blockage by the individual user, where they've clicked block sender. But in any case, it's some sort of spam blockage, so we'll take it out. Relay access denied. So all these are going out. Recipient address rejected. Okay. So here it looks like we're going to have to go through a big more list of these ones where the relay ones are buried in with the thing. So I'll just pause it again as I'm doing this. Okay, so we're back, and we've gone through a big list of where we had to prune out relay access and emails such as this. So now here's one: message rejected because unacceptable content. Again, that's a spam block. So delete those. User unknown. Reports as spam. Some of them actually come out and say that it's reporting you as such in plain English. Techies are not good at giving things out in plain English. Spam. User unknown in the local recipient table. All spam. Or sorry, all dead addresses. Denied means that the person has spam blocked it at their desktop. So we'll take all these out. Take out all these no really allowed ones. Mailbox. Currently red listed. I've never seen that one before, but anyways, we will leave it in, or take it out rather, because it's some sort of blocking. You are not allowed to send mail to, so that sounds like it's a whitelist type thing, so delivery not authorized, message refused. So it's something to do with the message, so it's a spam block, so we'll take these out. And that's it. So we're going to go through, and these are all ones here that were just extraneous parts of these reports. And just going to go down and delete them all. Okay, so we're at the bottom here, so we're just going to go, once this is finished, we're going to click edit and then delete. Okay, so we'll delete. And then what we'll do is we'll go back and scroll back up to the top. And we'll delete all these columns here. Delete. And then because there were spaces in here, we're just going to put these all in alphabetical order. So we're going to go sort. That. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go file, save as, and then what I like to do to indicate that these have been gone through is I put the word in pruned in the list so that anyone else that looks at this file knows that this process has been gone through for this particular file. So we can close out. So now we have our list of hard bounces that we can extract from the master list of the Canadian developers that we have. So what we'll do is we'll go back here and I'll show you our list of our reference list that we have that we'll make available to you. So what I did is for all these different instances of somewhere where it was a report of a dead hard bounced email, I put it here. So these are all the different reports that I saw over many hours looking at these reports. So you can look through these. So if any of the matches, any of your reports, if your report that you're wondering about matches any of these or is close to it, chances are it's a dead hard bounced email. So that's the first type. In the second sheet here, we've put all the different reports that indicate that the email has been spam blocked. So again, lots of different ways of expressing that. Third sheet here is where the delivery, there was no delivery due to config problem of some sort on our end. So these are the different reports that I saw for that. And finally, whenever we saw blacklisting or blocking at the mail server level, we'd see these ones. Now, if we go to the bad emails and we open up, let's click here. And we'll go back to actually to one of our other server here. I'll show you what the soft bounce reports look like and how they are relevant. Bad emails. Okay, so there's the file that we just did, prunes. So we're going to go to click the soft bounces for here. So mail server. So we can see here stuff like this where it's saying, mail server is currently being blacklisted by Spam Cop, all these other ones here. So it's a good idea just to scan through this and just look for any indications that you're being blacklisted, and just try to understand, going through this, why you're getting soft bounced. So anyways, let's just go back to our slideshow here. So that's it. That's the end of the webinar. Thanks for watching. Our company's focus is on real estate email marketing, but we also do email deliverability consulting. And if you've watched this webinar and you know that you have either a purchased list that you'd like to get cleaned of dead addresses, or you've got some other list that's in-house that you haven't used for a long time and you'd like to get it scrubbed and cleaned of all addresses, we can certainly do that for you as a service. So anyways, again, my name is Randy McDonald. I'm the president of Harris Email Services. My contact info is right there, and thanks for attending. By the way, we're going to make the spreadsheet that I just showed you available on our YouTube page in the description for this video, so you can find the link there to download that Excel spreadsheet. Thanks for attending.